Hey kids, it's Englentine with another edition of Marvel Comics vs. DC Comics. Now the rules are simple. We read and review every issue of Marvel or DC Comics for this particular week. Then we give them a rating. 1 star is horrible, 2 stars is bad, 3 is average, 4 is good, and 5 is excellent. After that we average out the scores, and whoever has the highest score is the best publisher for this particular week. So without further ado, let's get started. First off, the 1 stars, the ones we thought were horrible and you should absolutely avoid, in our opinion, of course. Nick Fury #1 had stuff happen. He goes to a casino. He says, I'm on a mission. You don't know what the mission is. Somebody shows up to kill him. They fight. The panels and the layout is incomprehensible. Why are they fighting? What's going on? Nothing is asked. Nothing is answered. It's just a whole bunch of colors with drawings of people in them. It means nothing. I'm going to put this on me, actually. I'm going to assume that I am an idiot on this. There's history here that I don't see because I haven't read Nick Fury, this new version of Nick Fury. I'm going to assume that I missed a page. Maybe a page was missing from my comic that explained everything. So please, if somebody read this and can make heads or tails of it, let me know in the comments below, because like I said, it's just a hodgepodge of colors and pictures that mean nothing to me. Superman #21. Now this was read by my brother Chef Jack, and he says, well, he wanted the book to be better. The problem of raising a superpowered child is an interesting topic, but instead we get this fruitless search for Batman, a one damn thing after another story, featuring mindless action, Damian Wayne being a dick, as usual, and a whole lot of nothing else really happening. How do you make a comic book fight boring? By doing what they did in this book. And honestly, felt like this was a waste of an issue. Doctor Strange #19. Doctor Strange versus the Mystery Men, with the lives of Zelma Stanton and Wong in the balance. Wow, was this disappointing. And I've been saying the same thing. This one was also read by Chef Jack. And I've said the same thing about Doctor Strange. The art is muddy and distracting. The story is confusing when it isn't trite and cliched. What ought to have been an interesting story turned boring quickly, and the entire book was ruined by it. Trinity #8, read and reviewed by Chef Jack. I swear this read like fan fiction, badly written fan fiction. The characterization was flat, the dialogue was stilted, the action was boring and predictable, and everything just felt wrong about this book. It tries to explain the entire new Superman thing, but ended up being just a snooze fest. When you literally have to force yourself into paying attention to a comic book, that's when you know it's bad. On to the 2 stars. These were merely bad. There might be something to save them from the awfulness that was the 1 stars. The Wildstorm #3. So I'm new to the Wildstorm. I wanted to like this series. However, the storytelling technique is off. They introduce characters through other people talking about them, and then they speak in a lot of neo-militaristic techno-garble, and that kind of disengages the reader. It makes it so it's hard to follow who they are, therefore we don't really care what happens to them during the action scenes. So Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye. #7 is a perfect example as to why you do not put politics into a comic book. I was enjoying it. It wasn't great, but it was at least average. And then Superman, of all people, makes an allusion to the fact that the president is a tyrant. It just pulled me right out of the story. I did not care about anything that happened after that, because I was like, really? You guys need to go live where tyrants are. That's what I thought, and it just pulled me completely out, ruined the book for me. Admittedly, this is the worst of the Secret Empire tie-ins, Thunderbolts #12. It has a whole bunch of people going after the living cosmic cube, and we see where Bucky Barnes lands, and he escapes Baron Zemo and all that. So it does have some setup. However, it's very confusing, the action is, and in the end is not quite as satisfying. Monsters Unleashed #1, also read and reviewed by Chef Jack. He says, well, the art was pretty good. There's that. And including Herbie from the 1960s Fantastic Four cartoon was pretty cool. But the story was about something happening involving giant monsters and fighting evil. It was a confusing mess that even now all I can tell you is that a bunch of radical kids armed with Japanese-style giant monsters did a bunch of stuff. At least this gave Marvel a legitimate reason to bring back the Mole Man. So hey, you have that. Like I said, there's always a saving grace to the 2 stars. Lucifer number 17, also read by Chef Jack. The story was intriguing, but it was a little bit too confusing for new readers to latch on to. It felt like there was about 9 different plot points going on all at once, and they got in the way of each other. The art was iffy as well. Perhaps if the writers calmed down, focused on 1 or 2 plot threads, and hired a decent artist, it would be a better book. Well, yeah, you get better writers and better artists. Usually that happens, but that's my editorial, not his review. Harley Quinn number 18, another one read by Chef Jack. This issue about cannibals snatching homeless people as part of a plot to clear up said homelessness was fair at best. There's a huge build-up in the beginning with no payoff. And at the end of the day, the story just kind of sits there, does nothing. There's so many opportunities that were missed in this issue. It really should have been a lot more interesting than it was. Good idea, bad execution. Superwoman number 9, I think DC kind of dropped the ball. Like, the beginning is interesting. You find out Lana Lang loses her Superwoman powers, and she goes back to the farm, and she's actually feeling relieved in it. I think it would have made a good character study, but then Superman picks her up, takes her to the city, shows her, oh, anybody can be a hero, and it turns into just another mundane story that we've seen many, many times before. On to the 3 stars. These were average. They elicited no response, either good or bad, from us. This may differ for you, but these are the ones that we just say, meh. Silk number 19, great cover. Love this cover. It would make a beautiful poster for a fan. I myself thought Silk number 19 was amazingly okay. I mean, it is just fine. Silk meets her dad after apparently he's been in the negative zone. She gets attacked by a villain. Has a name, I'm sorry, in white. Looks like her but wears all white. And it's okay. Nothing exciting, nothing amazing. I wish it was better, but then again, I wish all the books were better. I wish everything was a 5-star thing, and I had to choose from top to bottom through logistics what was best. However, there was no tension to the book. I mean, the action was there. It just didn't feel like it meant anything. But overall, it was okay. It's not bad. The Punisher number 11. I put this right after Silk because they are the same book. And it's the same. If you're coming off of it new, basically you're getting a little bit of setup and then a big-ass fight throughout most of the book. And you don't exactly know why they're fighting because there's no story telling you exactly what's going on. And it's not bad to read, actually. It's just not that great because you don't know anything in context. However, it's got an excellent cover. Poe Dameron number 13. This is my first foray into the Poe Dameron world of comic books. And yeah, it was pretty good. He's on a planet and he's trying to survive while the Rebel Alliance, the fleet, is in space trying to get to him. And one of them gives him a passcode to make a killer robot out of the robot that's with him. It was very breezy, very easy to read, quick, and entertaining. Deadpool number 29. Deadpool and Spidey go against Dracula in the finale of Till Death Do Us Part, and I'll tell you, the dialogue is the star, and the action is inconsequential. Seriously, a lot of stuff happens, but it's what they're talking about that makes this book. Overall, the book it manages to be entertaining. There are some hit and miss jokes, but overall, it's pretty good. It's just okay. Batwoman number 2, read by Chef Jack. And he says, I understand they're trying to set up a storyline here which deals with ruthless billionaires who finance world terrorism, but it could have been done much better than it was done here. The story wasn't terrible, it just wasn't great. There's way too much exposition dropped in huge blocks, and it got in the way of the story. The villain, Knife, she was generic. And to be honest, anytime the writer resorts to the dramatic name drop trope, it's kind of cringy. This is obviously the final chapter of a storyline, and I'm not very sure about what was going on before. So there's some aliens. They have New York up on the moon or something like that. So this is where the protectors are fighting the aliens, and it's a big old Hulk out issue. And I like that. I like the Hulk being the Hulk, being a badass, and leave your brain at the door. Come on in, enjoy. The water's fine. Guardians of the Galaxy Dream On, #1. So the team is living out their dream lives until they realize it's all fake. They actually realize everything is too good, so they all wake up from this dream. It's a complete action issue. It's light, it's fun, there's no consequence whatsoever, and I don't exactly see where they're going with it, but it might be fun to see where it takes us. Justice League #19, read by Chef Jack. Molly's plot to purge the timeline of all superheroes come to fruition, and the Justice League stands against her. The action was alright, but not earth-shaking, and a lot of it came off as a Deo Ex Machina, which apparently I read wrong the last time because he left a note in his reviews. The art was fantastic, but if the story had matched the book, would have been a lot better. Ms. Marvel #17. Now, this book had an okay story, but I get the feeling they were trying to be a bit more profound than they actually came across as. The issue is a discussion on how internet anonymity lets us get away with being complete assholes to one another. It's a good message, but as I said, the writing in the issue is a bit too glossy, and in the end it comes across as superficial. That said, it was otherwise a well-done and enjoyable issue. Royals #2. So apparently Medusa is dying. At the same time, the ship they're on gets attacked by the Chitauri. So I'm not a big fan of the fact that they're calling it Royals, and yet most of the dialogue consists of Medusa saying, "Stop calling me your highness." It just seems, I don't know, there was something majestic about the Inhumans before, and now it really just seems they are just one more super team. It's not as unique as it used to be. Also, the book jumps the shark by making one of the new Inhumans move Pluto to get rid of the Chitauri. Nightwing #19. Now, this book is a continuation of the Dr. Payne storyline. Features Nightwing trying to find and rescue a kidnapped Damian Wayne. Now, the problem is, it could have worked better had it not featured the entire kidnapping subplot. The confrontation between Nightwing and Deathwing, and the revelation that Deathwing was really at heart just an abused child who had been twisted into a nightmare, that was a much better story without the kidnapping tacked onto it. This is a good example of less is more. Injustice 2, Chapter 2. So, Harley Quinn is captured by Amanda Waller, and they tell her she's got the explosive in her brain, and she laughs, and then basically it's just a Batman as a badass, and he's coming to kick your ass story. That is the crux of it. It works if you're a Batman fan. I mean, it's showing how he's tough by tough people talking about him. That's the whole story. Star-Lord #6. Now, there wasn't a lot happening in this book, to the point where the only thing I can tell you for sure that happened was Matt Murdock acted as a delivery boy, Javelin decided to open a bar, and Star-Lord got his guns back. That's it. Wasn't a bad read, but there was just, there's nothing going on. U.S. Avengers #5. So this is the weakest of the Secret Empire books this week. Not that it's bad, but the best part of it is the interaction between Captain America and Bobby DaCosta. And every time they cut away from that story, the book suffers for it. There's some bits with the Hulk that aren't bad, but the main meat and potatoes is the interaction between the two characters. Beyond that, like I said, the book is not bad. And now we're at the 4-star books. This is where the good stuff comes in, the stuff we actually recommend you read. Venom #6 is the return of Eddie Brock, and you have Spider-Man fighting the symbiote with the, I forget the guy's name. I'm sorry, I only read the first issue and the 6th issue, this one, and I don't know what happened in the middle. However, this is a very exciting issue, I gotta say. It really does play into everything I knew about Venom before, apparently, Flash Thompson got a hold of him, and I am very much interested in seeing what happens from here on in. So here we get a red-ringed Khan versus Hal Jordan, and I like this. This is a good book so far. I've been enjoying it. I do appreciate also them trying to stop Sinestro. and what he's doing, and the fact that he went back to the past to get a more powerful yellow ring. It's well written. It moves very briskly. It's definitely worth a pickup. Okay, so we have the finale. Dr. Polaris is fighting the Green Lanterns here. It is amazing. I mean, this is a really good book. I don't want to spoil anything, just to say that the villainous Dr. Polaris, I mean, he is really a bad guy in this one, but we get to see deep inside of him. We are really shown who this villain is, which is a rare treat in comic books, indeed, considering how much focus they put on the villains at times. I'm not the biggest fan of making villains heroes, so in Deathstroke 19, when he goes against Power Girl, I really enjoyed this because Deathstroke felt like a villain again. He felt like Deathstroke the Terminator again, and I appreciate that. I want to see bad guys slayed. I'm this in the middle, has a code hero kind of thing doesn't work as good as the villain who's just out for himself and will do anything to get what he wants. Green Arrow number 21, and this one has Green Arrow pontificating in a cemetery as Cheshire and other superpowered people set up disasters all over the city. Cheshire herself crashes an airplane, and it's a great setup book. I think this is the first chapter of the Rise of Star City, and it works. It's very entertaining. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the next issue has to offer us. Moon Knight number 13. So in this one, you have Mark Spector trying to navigate his own mind at the same time they tell you how the Bushman and Mark Spector met and what happened in that particular adventure. Now, Moon Knight is kind of hard to describe. It's a very well-written book. It's a good book, except it is very deep. It is not something you read casually. I would definitely recommend turn off the radio and just get absorbed in the story. Super Sons number 3 is just a ton of fun. And it really shouldn't be, because we're talking about the Super Sons save a little girl whose family is in danger of being killed because the brother has been making robots of them and has been killing them over and over again. But it's the wordplay between the two characters. It's the way they interact and act with each other. This is just a light-hearted adventure-style comic book like the old days. Aquaman number 21. H2.0 Part 3 has Aquaman and Mera investigating what Arthur believes is a Deadwater gate. So while the crew is on the ship, they grow increasingly worried for the return of a Deadwater monster. And I'll tell you, the story's tense. There's no doubt the fact that Aquaman is scared, it just makes it a little bit better. So the alien monsters and growing fear, it makes me think this could really actually make a good horror movie. Daredevil 19. This was reviewed and read by Chef Jack. He says this was a really well-written book with an interesting premise. The Purple Man takes Matt Murdock along on a bit of a psychobilly freakout. Problem is, Matt Murdock has proven in previous encounters that he can power through the Purple Man's mind control. So the Purple Man shouldn't be able to screw with Daredevil like this, and it kind of makes no sense. However, beyond that, the story is tight and it is interesting. Black Panther, World of Wakanda number 6, read and reviewed by Chef Jack. This was a pretty exciting neo-noir crime thriller starring a bunch of characters who just don't get enough airplay. The White Tiger is tracking the Vanisher down, trying to recover vibranium technology on behalf of the Black Panther, and he has to go through a lot of B-list street-level villains to do it. It's an exciting story that unfortunately is slightly confusing in the beginning, and that's what keeps it from being excellent, but it levels out. It's a good book. The Odyssey of the Amazons, issue 4 out of 5. This issue was an interesting examination of the myths of the female warriors found in nearly every culture on Earth. The Amazons, the Valkyrie, the Sudras, the Brigids, and so on. It took a bit too long to get to the point, but it was a good read, and it was intriguing lead into the rest of the story. DC Comics Bombshells Chapter 91, read and reviewed by Chef Jack. An interesting take on introducing the Kryptonian villain Feora, I always get that one wrong, to the Bombshell universe. It dropped a lot of exposition on us, but did so in a way that was exciting and didn't feel like an info dump. Now on the downside, the art was a little bit cartoonish and way too cartoonish for even the simplified feel of the Bombshells. Also, it calls itself a prelude to the Bombshells version of the Suicide Squad, but I didn't quite get the connection. However, I am looking forward to the next issue. Batman number 21, read and reviewed by Chef Jack and myself. This is the first issue of The Button, wherein the Flash and Batman begin their investigation on the comedian Smiley Face Button. Okay, so nobody in the mainstream DC universe knows that it's the comedian's button, but we all do. Now, the fight between the Reverse Flash and Batman was well done, demonstrating clearly that there is no world that exists where anyone who is not as fast as the Flash can beat the Flash in hand-to-hand combat. Now, the cameo at the beginning was pretty cool also. If there was one bad thing about the book, it's that the lead into the fight is a bit opaque and hard to follow. That was Chef Jack's review. My review, I'm just glad it didn't suck. Just kidding, but I actually agree with the stuff that my brother said. I thought that was it summed up everything pretty well. Alrighty, on to the 5-star books, the best of the best, for at least this week. All-Star Batman number 9, read and reviewed by Chef Jack. Ra's al Ghul's attempt at revenge on the world culminates in a fight set in the Washington Monument. Fantastic action. A believable plot line that runs through the action without diminishing either the action or the plot line. Brilliant use of both Ra's al Ghul, Catwoman, and Batman in a way that stays true to all of them. This was simply a great comic. The only flaw is a backup story, which is utterly incoherent, but even then the primary story is so great it makes up for it. Astro City number 43, read and reviewed by Chef Jack. He says, "This was the best comic I've read in a long time. This book tells the secret origin of the gentleman, and by extension, the young gentleman, the gentleman's successor, through the experience of the gentleman's daughter, Matilda. This story deserves to be talked about in 30 years as one of the best stories ever written, and I had tears in my eyes by the end of it." Captain America number 16, read this before you read Secret Empire 0. Wow. I've got to say, I'm not a big fan of Nick Spencer the man, but Nick Spencer the writer, I'm eating a lot of crow right now because this was great. That put me on the edge of my seat here. Not saying too much about it, just go check it out and buy it. And that leads us to the best book of the week, Secret Empire 0. Which was read and reviewed by Chef Jack. However, I do agree with what he has to say here. Secret Empire number 0. The ultimate reason behind the Captain America is a Hydra agent controversy is here, and man is it a doozy. I love the writing, I love the action, heck, I even love the way Carol Danvers was portrayed. This was an intriguing and exciting story, and I cannot wait to see the rest of it. So there we go, kids. Every book from DC or Marvel read and reviewed. DC Comics had 2 1-star books, 5 2-star books, 4 3-star books, 9 4-star books, and 2 5-stars. With 22 books released this week, that gives DC Comics an average score of 3.18. Marvel Comics had 2 1-star books, 2 2-star books, 10 3-star books, 4 4-star books, and 2 5-star books. And yeah, it takes me a couple of takes to read those before they sound right. So with a tally of 62 off of 20 books released this week, that gives Marvel a score of 3.10, which means DC Comics is the winner for the week of 4/19/2017. But that's just our opinion. So where did we get it right? Where did we get it wrong? What's your favorite book and what's the one you hated the most for the week of 4/19/2017? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, please click like, share, subscribe. You know the drill at this point. And most importantly, thank you very, very much for watching.